I am deeply honored to be here with each of you as we pay homage and celebrate a civil rights icon that was an activist 2 decades prior to her bus stand and approximately 40 years after. She set in motion a national march towards racial equality and equity for all. Her act of civil disobedience was one that was resounding as it impacted all of us within the communities that we serve. This march still continues today, a march that will take steadfast commitment, persistent and measured action, as well as collaboration and solidarity. Over this past weekend, I read a comment from one of my sheroes, and she stated, public transit is vital to ensuring and sustaining diverse and inclusive communities. In that regard, this hall marks the vital role that public transit has for the Denver metro region, as well as highlights the true essence of a person that leads by example with compassion, as well as unwavering action to ensure that her RTD team carries out this tenet with the utmost regard. She truly uplifts the agency and sets the tone to ensure that we continue to make lives better through connection. It is my distinct pleasure to introduce RTD's General Manager and Chief Executive Officer, Deborah A. Johnson.
So, Carl, thank you very kindly for that warm introduction. And good morning, everyone. Merry Monday. As introduced, I'm Deborah Johnson, the General Manager and Chief Executive Officer of the Regional Transportation District. I am joined by Julian Bouquet, the Chair of the RTD Board of Directors. Also with us today are some incredible community leaders and artists whose contributions continue to motivate and inspire all people in this region. We will have the privilege of hearing from them shortly. February 4th is a very special day for RTD, and I am excited to be with all of you in this moment in time to discuss it. Tomorrow, on which would have been Rosa Parks' 112th birthday, will be RTD's first offer of zero fare transit for equity. This bold initiative will enable customers to use the system at no cost to them. You may recall that RTD offers zero fare services in other ways. The agency provides 2 zero fare to vote days and general election years, and customers that are 19 years and younger can use the system at no cost through the Zero Fare for Youth program. The agency board of directors made these changes permanent last year, and I commend them for their leadership in expanding fairness and justice with these incredible actions. Starting tomorrow and continuing on every February 4th thereafter, Zero Fare for Transit Equity Day will also be a permanent fare change. Transit equity was first celebrated in the US in 2021 nationally by action of the US Department of Transportation. This day honors Rosa Parks' legacy and recognizes that equitable access to public transportation is a civil right afforded to all. And I just have to give a shout out to that bus back there with that fabulous wrap that clearly says access is a civil right. As many of you have often heard me say, public transportation services are far more than a means to connect customers to work, school, healthcare, and social destinations. They are the great societal equalizer, providing individuals with access to opportunities for the betterment of their lives. The introduction of Zero Fare for Transit Equity Day reinforces RTD's commitment to advance equity in every aspect of its work. I'll pick up on this point in just a moment. But for now, let us reflect on where we are as we make this announcement. This I Have a Dream monument honors Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. and four leaders who inspired the life of this civil rights leader: Frederick Douglass, Mahatma Gandhi, Sojourner Truth, and Rosa Parks. I admire the structure of the piece because it shows that Dr. King stood metaphorically on the shoulders of these figures. While these individuals are memorialized in art, history, and culture, it is important to remember that they were people just like you and me, doing what they believe to be right. I'm going to take executive privilege here and say that being here in this moment is incredibly important, but even more important in light of everything that we've endured over the past 2 weeks. And please recognize that this is not a partisan statement that I'm making. I am talking about the need for all people, regardless of what one looks like, regardless of religion, regardless of the color of one's skin, regardless of one's sexual orientation. Civil rights is human rights, and we are all humans, imperfectly perfect the way we were intended to be. So, on the December evening close to 70 years ago, when Rosa Parks boarded a bus in Montgomery, Alabama, she was more than a seamstress just heading home after a long day's work in the department store. That 42-year-old Black woman was also a secretary of the local NAACP, the National Association for the Advancement of Colored People. Knowing that city law required the front 10 seats to be permanently reserved for white customers, Parks took a seat directly behind those 10 in a window seat. When the bus became crowded, the operator instructed Parks and the other three Black customers seated in that row to vacate their seats, to make them available to white customers who were boarding. The others moved, but Rosa Parks refused to do so, which Montgomery law required. Parks argued that she was not in a seat reserved for white customers. The operator believed that he had the discretion to move the line separating Black and white customers. The law was not clear on this point, but when Parks refused to give up her seat, he called the police. She was booked, fingerprinted, and briefly jailed for refusing to obey that bus operator's instructions. While Rosa Parks' name is synonymous with the civil rights movement, she was not the first person prosecuted for violating the segregation laws of Montgomery, Alabama, as it pertained to bus usage. Four other women reported similar mistreatment, and the case they brought was sent to the U.S. Supreme Court for review. The court declared segregation to be unconstitutional. Parks' quiet act of defiance prompted the Montgomery bus boycott, a 381-day political and social protest by Black Americans and allies as well that challenged the discrimination they had endured for years. This foundational nonviolent protest against segregation galvanized the U.S. civil rights movement and led many to call Parks the First Lady of Civil Rights. Transit Equity Day is more than a moment to celebrate the legacy of Rosa Parks and the Montgomery bus boycott. It invites reflection on the progress that has been made. However, the challenges that still remain. Accessing reliable and affordable public transit remains an issue for many Americans. This day is a call to action to create a future where all people have equitable access to the opportunities in which they need to thrive. The introduction of Transit Equity Day is the latest commitment by RTD to advance equity in every aspect of its services. In addition to the zero fare service I previously mentioned, RTD has implemented a simpler, more affordable, and more equitable fare payment structure, resulting from an extensive system wide fare study and equity analysis. At a time when transit fares were rising across the country, RTD decreased fares. The agency introduced a transit assistance grant program to assist organizations and government agencies that serve clients with immediate transit needs. The board of directors also approved an equitable transit oriented development policy back in 2021, which promotes the development of affordable housing on RTD owned land near high frequency transit corridors. RTD belongs to the people it serves. With all that we do, we aim to bring others in, create a sense of unity, and treat customers with dignity and respect. RTD celebrates the characteristics and qualities that make people unique and beautiful. On this day, I am reminded that meaningful change often begins with one voice and continues through the dedicated and passionate work of so many people. Thank you for being here this morning. And now I invite Julian Bouquet, Chair of the RTD Board, to say a few words.
General Manager and CEO Johnson, thank you for the introduction and welcome all of you to today. I'm Julian Bouquet, and it is my honor and privilege to serve as the chair of the RTD Board of Directors, a position I was elected to hold last month by my board colleagues. I represent RTD's southernmost district. I've been serving on this board for the last 4 years. And my southernmost district also includes my hometown and my daytime employer. As directors, this isn't our full-time position. And as some may know and some may not, I am a middle school teacher for Douglas County School District. I teach classes on media and broadcast production, as well as some photojournalism and electronic publishing. With these being my professional passions, history is important to me. I actually could teach social studies if I wanted to as well. To put information into proper context, we need to understand past events and develop to understand how to make a meaningful difference. With tomorrow being a day to reflect on the concept of equity, I was inspired to revisit the definition of the concept itself. It is defined as the quality of being equal or fair. We can all appreciate this straightforward definition that leaves significant room for interpretation. RTD and its transit peers across the U.S. have undertaken significant efforts to define equity. RTD has a transit equity office located within the agency's Civil Rights Division that ensures the agency complies with Title VI civil rights requirements. This means providing public transportation in non-discriminatory manners, promoting full and fair public involvement in RTD's decision-making, and ensuring meaningful access to RTD services and programs by people with limited English proficiency. I want to note that RTD's Transit Equity Office seeks to move beyond compliance and achieve true transit equity. By understanding the critical importance of public transportation, RTD aims to integrate transit equity into all agency programs, services, and activities. And in doing so, the agency can better serve the people who rely on public transportation the most, while building a respectful, dignified, and welcoming transit environment. The equity gains that RTD has made were preceded by significant historical efforts. I'll mention a few of these. Our general manager and CEO mentioned the Montgomery bus boycott and the courageous acts of Rosa Parks and others. In July 1978, a group of 19 individuals blocked the intersections of Broadway and Colfax here in Denver to protest a lack of wheelchair accessibility for RTD buses. Momentum built for a federal accessibility law, which turned into the Americans with Disabilities Act of 1990. A 1974 U.S. Supreme Court case, Lau versus Nichols, found that those who speak languages other than English are also protected under Title VI of the Civil Rights Act. This means that public transit should really be ultimately accessible for all, even with linguistic diversity. RTD has done tremendous work over decades to provide service throughout the region, being mindful of equity. I could teach an entire history lesson this morning on this, but it extends to the agency's inception over the last 50 years, and I only have a few moments to do so. And I would like to focus on more recent accomplishments. I would like to focus more on recent accomplishments that are intended to make sure that public transit is accessible to all. One of the most notable, as mentioned, was the most recent system-wide fare study and equity analysis, and the resulting changes made a year ago to RTD's fare structure, its existing discount and pass programs, and the introduction of new programs like Zero Fare for Youth, which matter a lot to me as a teacher. Staff directors and the general manager and CEO had long heard that fares were expensive, hard to understand, and the agency launched a review of this entire fare system with an aim to create a fare structure that was more equitable and more affordable. RTD met with and gathered feedback from thousands of community members, likely including many of you. The new fare structure lowered fares for all customers and community members. Fares were simplified by combining the local and regional fares into one standard fare. The structure streamlined discount fares for customers ages 65 and older, individuals with disabilities, Medicare recipients, and customers enrolled in the LIVE program, which is RTD's income-based fare discount program. Those qualifying for discounts now receive a 50% discount to access all RTD destinations, including the airport. And it lowered the cost of monthly passes to $88 for a full fare paying customer and $27 for customers qualifying for discounts. That's really an incredible move. I mentioned the LIVE program. I'd like to say more about it, that this program was first launched in July 2019 to make transit more affordable for individuals with household income at or below 185% of the federal poverty level. Also reflecting from the fare study and equity analysis were changes to the program that expanded access to more people. Household earnings were increased to 250% of the federal poverty guidelines. Those interested in the program no longer have to have an address within RTD service district. Customers could pay their fare in cash, and accessoride customers became eligible for LIVE. Due to the changes in the program's requirements and a tremendous increase in outreach, there was a 55% increase from 2023 to 2024. More than 15,000 people were enrolled in this program last year, compared with close to 9,900 people the year before. Let's take a moment, let's give an applause for that. Our general manager and CEO also mentioned the Transit Assistance Grant Program, which provides RTD fares to qualified nonprofits and organizations serving clients with immediate needs. During the program's first year, close to $1 million was awarded to a total of 181 organizations, serving more than 56,000 clients. TAG has been received well by the community, and applications for 2025 just closed on this Friday. As was the case during the prior year, interest remains high in this program. I could go on, but I need to yield my time. As we've heard from the GM CEO, public transit remains a crucial resource for everyone, whether they're traveling to school, work, the store, or the doctor's appointment. My public transit journey began when I was in college, when I was using the E or F line to commute to the University of Denver. I couldn't have had better experiences riding those lines, and it really allowed me to discover and explore the rest of the Denver metro area. I'm grateful for those RTD services, and I'm glad they're available throughout my district and throughout all the districts. I want to thank you all again for joining us today. Thank you, RTD, for this important occasion. And now I'll pass the mic back to our GM and CEO. Thank you, Ms. Johnson.
So, Chair Bouquet, thank you very much for your comments and for your leadership. Occasions like today inspire more than just words. They call for words set to a melody. They call for music. One specific hymn has held a powerful place in Black communities and American history since it was composed 125 years ago. I know personally it's a song that I learned as a small child, and it's one that basically brings me to a place where I remember that I stand on the shoulders of greatness because I am my ancestors' wildest dreams. This composition, Lift Every Voice and Sing, is a refrain for all people who advocate for equality and justice. It is often referenced as the Black national anthem. Performing it for us today is Sherelle Wright, who was raised in Denver's historic Five Points neighborhood and now serves as a lead community advocate and chaplain at Mile High Ministries. If you are headed downtown tonight to watch the Nuggets take on the Pelicans, you can hear her twice in one day. So, with that introduction, please help me welcome Sherelle to the mic.
Let every voice and sing till earth and heaven ring with the harmonies of liberty. Let our rejoicing rise high as the listening skies. Let it resound loud as the rolling sea. Sing a song full of the faith that the dark past has taught us, and sing a song full of the hope that the present has brought us. Facing the rising sun of our new day begun, let us march on till victory is won. Stony the road we trod, bitter the chastening rod, felt in the days when hope unborn had died. Yet with a steady beat have not our weary feet felt in the days for which our ancestors they sighed. We have come over a place that with tears have been watered, and we have come, treading the path through the blood of the slaughtered. Out from the gloomy past, till now we stand at last. Oh, where the white gleam of our bright star is cast. God of our weary years, God of our silent tears, thou who hast brought us thus far on the way. Yet, oh God, shadowed beneath thy hand, oh yes, I'll forever stand. True to our God, true to our native land. I'm sorry, can you stop the beat? I'm so sorry. I apologize, but in order to honor and respect the Black National Anthem and lift every voice and sing, I have to sing the last verse correctly, out of respect for that. So if you don't mind, I'm going to sing the last verse a cappella. Thank you. God of our weary years, God of our silent tears, thou who hast brought us thus far on the way, thou who hast by thy might led us into the light, keep us forever in the path we pray. Oh, lest our feet stray from the places, our God, where we met thee, and lest our hearts, drunk with the wine of the world, we forget thee. Shadowed beneath thy hand, might we forever stand true to our God, true to our native land. Thank you. Thank you.
I actually just shared with her. That was so beautiful. So thank you so much, Sherelle, for sharing your dynamic talents with us today. I know the ancestors felt that. Next, it is my privilege to welcome Sandra Young, a passionate community advocate and immediate past president, of the Denver branch of the NAACP and chief vision officer of the Colorado Council for Urban Development. In her work, Sandra inspires others to believe their dreams are attainable. She has collaborated with leaders at all levels to enact legislation to improve quality of life and believes that the universe and our ancestors are our most excellent teachers. I'm truly looking forward to hearing from her this morning. So, Sandra, please join me at the lectern.
Good morning, everyone. I think Miss Deborah read my speech this morning. Girl, you shouldn't have come over and read this. But I want to thank you for your leadership. I want to thank Carl Green for the invitation. I want to thank you for being here. I'm so excited today to celebrate Black History Month. Can't nobody tell me what I can't celebrate with my ancestors and their dynamicness that they have done. So I'm excited about that today. When I was coming in, I started thinking about a song from the prolific James Brown. They said it's a man's world, but it wouldn't be nothing without a woman or a girl. And so today, briefly, I'm going to talk about some of the civil rights women because we'd be remiss if we didn't talk about them that led us to Rosa Parks. First, as we stand before this statue, we see Sojourner Truth, who said, "Ain't I a woman?" And she fought for women's reproductive rights and women's rights all over the country. She even tried to give us 2 acres and a mule, but they said, no, you won't be getting that this time. But she tried, which led us to Harriet Tubman, who took 70 enslaved people to freedom. That's a big deal. Which led us to Ida B. Wells, who was one of the founders of the NAACP movement an educator, and also worked with the women's suffrage movement, which led us to Mamie Till, whose son Emmett Till was killed. And she said, leave the casket open. I want to see how, tell America, this is how they treat Black people, which led us to Dorothy Height. Some of y'all know about Dorothy Height, besides the beautiful hat she wore. She fought for literacy. She fought for women's rights. She fought for employment. And then that led us to Claudine Colvin, who was one of the first people that sat on the bus and said, I shall not be moved. She said as she sat there, she felt Harriet Tubman on one shoulder and Sojourner Truth on the next one and say, you have to sit here. You have to bring change. But as they put her in jail, they said, no, you're just not the one for this because you're young. You're just in college and you're having a baby. The DEI won't like that. So then they brought a seamstress, as both Carl and Deborah have mentioned, that had been in this work for 23 years. That was the secretary of the Montgomery NAACP. And she sat down, and she remembered that when she sat down, many times she would have to get off the bus, walk to the front of the bus and put her money in, get off the bus and come to the back of the bus to sit down. This particular bus driver had left her many times in the rain. So she said, oh no, I'm not moving today. I'm sitting where they told me I could sit. And so she sat as long as she could until the man said, we're going to take you to jail if you don't move. But determination, she said, wrapped her and engulfed her like a comforter on a cold night. That's determination. So when I was sitting and I was driving today, I started thinking about boxers. You know, when you're a boxer, they put you in the corner, they prep you up, give you a little water, spray some stuff on your face, tell you you can make it. You were made for this. You've been practicing for this. She had been practicing for this for 23 years. She can make it. And determination said, you can make it. But when she stood up, like in a fight, that's when it starts, right? When you take a stand, my mother said, if you stand for nothing, you'll fall for everything. So she took a stand that day. And when she stood for the Civil Rights Movement, the Civil Rights Act of 1965 and 1965. She stood for fair housing that day. She stood for the Voter Rights Act that day. That day, she didn't even know about it, but she stood for the Crown Act law. She didn't know, but she stood for the no-knock law. She didn't know it, but she stood against police brutality. She didn't even know that, right? She stood for equity, and she didn't even know. But most of all, that day, she stood for transit equity. And that's why we're here today. As Deborah mentioned, in 1956, they said this is unconstitutional for people not to be on the bus and be segregated. And so she stood for change. And so today, I'm up here just briefly to give you just a little bit to stand on. Move on and stand. Stay focused. Keep moving. Keep believing. A change is going to come. We want to thank the RTD, as both of them have mentioned, for what they are doing in community right now. That students can get to school that don't have fares. That men and women can wake up in the morning at 4 o'clock and still get to work. That organizations can still give people bus passes that need to get to a job. We're thankful for that today. We're thankful to have you here today. I don't want to take a lot of your time, but if I stand in front of this statue of Martin Luther King, I can't help but say inequality anywhere means inequality everywhere. And as we continue to fight, I need you to repeat after me. When we fight, we win. I say when we fight, we win. And then you say when we fight, we win, because together we win. When we fight, we win. No, I said repeat after me. See, y'all got to listen. When we fight, when we fight, when we fight, when we fight, we win. We win. We win. So thank you today. Keep fighting and keep believing, and we will win.
You all, please give Sandra another hand. Thank you for your dedication to your community and for your words. And I have to say, when she mentioned these dynamic women that led the way to where we are in this place and time. It reminded me of an instance where I was on a panel back when I was in LA, and somebody said, "Who is your role model? Who do you most aspire?" I said, "The first woman of a public transit agency," and that was Harriet Tubman, who selflessly went back and risked her own life each and every time as being the CEO of the Underground Railroad. That is just something that resonated with me, and I felt compelled to share as we're reflecting on all the hard work that was done to make it possible to us to stand in this place and reflect. So, next, I will welcome Jacob Smith to step forward. Jacob is the executive director at the National Organizations for Youth Safety, and he is the driving force behind the organization's refreshed mission, vision, and relocation to the Mile High City. His efforts as a social entrepreneur in the field of mobility safety have garnered national attention, fueling the Freedom to Move movement, which seeks to empower marginalized youth in this country to advocate for a safe, sustainable, and equitable transportation system. Jacob cares deeply about amplifying youth voices in transit planning, and we are glad that you are here today. So come on up, Jacob. Woo.
Thank you so much to RTD, to the community members who are here today to, I would say, a monumental day for young people. This work is not new to me. At the age of 14, I was impacted by a crash coming back from a transportation conference as a young person. That left me with a world of opportunities, but also the lived experience of navigating the rest of my life as a disabled Black queer individual. Never did I think that I would be leading a national organization that is transforming the lived experience of young people and their transportation system, but my experience is not unique. I often say to folks in this work that what drives me, and I love that my people here today have mentioned that, I ask the question every day, who are my people? That could be Ella Baker, who said, "Who are my people?" That could be Rosa Parks. That could be Martin Luther King. That could be my mom. That could be my dad. That could be my aunt in Park Hill. But I desire a world in which a young person can look back and they say that they have an incredible transportation experience because their people are Carl from RTD. Their people are Deborah. Their people are Sandra. Their people are folks who paved the way for them to have an equitable transportation system. And we are doing that right here today. Coming to recognize that we still have much progress to make, but we have instilled values in our young people and let them know that they deserve a transportation experience. Think about the young person who does not have to even think twice when they wake up in the morning about paying to get on the bus. And imagine the monumental moments that can happen in the future of our transportation system. So, what the freedom to move is not saying that we have to have a utopia transportation system, because can't imagine how long that would take. But it is saying that the freedom to move is really harnessing the identities of young people. To the LGBTQ young person, where transit can be a safe haven. To the disabled young person who knows that RTD is prioritizing their lived experience. To the low income young person who said, yes, I may have to pay for a meal tonight, but I know that I have a way to get where I need to go. And so that is what the freedom to move is, because we look at the history of young people, and they have always been the folks calling for more. They have always been the revolutionaries, the groundbreaking activists, entrepreneurs. I look back at my ancestors, they were the folks who paved the way. And so one day I desire for a young person to look back and say, wow, there was a generation of young people who advocated belonging, who advocated for much more than the current definition of traffic safety. Because today, young people are taking the bus more than they're doing anything. So I encourage each of you, if you have a young person, and we define young people 15 to 29, hey, so it gives you a little bit of more time to be a part of this work. If you have a young person who, ask them, who are your people? Ask them, what is your transportation experience? And let them know that it may not be the greatest today, but empower them to know that transportation and how we move is how we live. If you're not moving, then you're not growing. If you're not growing, then most likely you are not in this world to make change that we need. So thank you for allowing us to be here, and each of you are a part of the Freedom to Move movement. Woo!
So, Jacob, thank you. RTD is pleased to partner with Noise in its work and support the 2025 National Youth Symposium or Transportation Equity Convening, which is a symposium, which brings together youth leaders, policymakers, transportation leaders, and community advocates from across the United States. To close out this monumental day, we will hear from one more remarkable voice, Kenya Mahogany. She is well known in this community for her work as an actress, a playwright, and a spoken word artist. As the founder of Black Artists Amplified, Kenya strives to amplify the voices of youth through theater, poetry, and music. Her award-winning play, Colorism, Breaking the Chains of Complexion, highlights her commitment to creating stories that normalize and celebrate Black experience. Kenya, come on and bring us home.
Happy birthday to ya. Happy birthday to ya. Happy Heavenly Earth Day birthday to Miss Rosa Parks. Miss Parks. That while I am living in color, in a colorblind society of expectation and evasions, today and every day I celebrate you. I celebrate you. You for starting this movement for equality in transportation. You keeping the movement moving. Celebrate you. You who sat inside battleground buses fighting by sitting because doing nothing is doing something in the face of an unjust world that wanted you to stand for everything or stand but fall for everything. Wanted to see you breaking, aching feet, sick and tired of being sick and tired from walking decades in shoes that were never meant to fit. Black Cinderella with the twist of wicked. You were meant to set yourself on fire to keep each other and others warm. And because you said no that day, I was inspired to write you this love poem. Miss Parks, I too can relate to the carrying of the weight of born burdens. Relate to the sharp edges of oppression's dictation of where my body should go and dragging it for dirt. And I will no longer rise for their comfort. No, not when so many Black women are being murdered. No, not when people of color are stopped from moving further. No, it is our time of rest. So no to the disrespect and no to the neglect. Allow the word no to ricochet all the way back to Montgomery, transcending its vibrations of vibranium to the ancestors in those bus boycott streets demanding equality and full autonomy to be Black, to be human, and to be free, to transit to a transitioning, moving revolution on wheels that will take us places our souls can be able to heal. So, Miss Parks, I want to thank you. Along this journey, you have taught me to ride and recline, to love and unwind, to sit and seethe, to live and breathe and simply be me and do nothing because nothing is what I owe. Power to the word no. Power to your resistance because you paid the fare. And because of you, my debt is zero. Love, another sick and tired but magnificent Black woman.
Well, I asked her to bring it home, and I think she did. So I want to say, on behalf of Chair Bouquet and all of those that comprise the Regional Transportation District, thank you. Thank you for letting us know that the work we do is not in vain. Thank you for showing up and showing out. Thank you for being the voice of the voiceless. Thank you for rallying around at bus stops and advocating for those that often do not have a voice. On behalf of all those people, all these women that are tired, and on behalf of the 92%, I say thank you. Rally around and keep doing what you do, because we don't have time to rest on our laurels. There is so much work to be done, and our work will not be in vain. So thank you all. I appreciate each and every one of you today. And to my dynamic team that made this happen, y'all continuously show up and show out, and I am so honored to be part of this team. Thank you.